previous class, Vijay sir was taking database, and he continued with object-oriented part. That means class. Students, both database and object-oriented concept, they are two different subjects, and it is very difficult to cover everything for that part in this course. So we are going to cover only part which is required for data science. So today I'm going to continue with the class and object part. And before that, I would like to tell you what is class and what is object. And then I will cover how we can do programming with class and object using operator overloading, inheritance, and all the concept of OOPS, yani ki object oriented programming. In third semester, you have Java programming, in which you can explore this concept thoroughly. Here I'm going to give you just a gist of that. Uh, Remember, just take one example in order to understand what is class and what is object. Then you will come to know how we can deal with this programming. Just take one scenario where one grandmother is going for a morning walk, and she was walking in the garden. There is a veterinary doctor. He's also come for a walk, and there is a stray dog in the garden as well. Uh, the dog is running the somehow grandmother managed to escape the cat from the dog, and she was very upset that her cat got wounded. Luckily, that veterinary doctor, he came and he saw the cat, and he has some first aid box, and he this entire scenario. Uh, there is a cat, there is a grandmother, there is a veterinary doctor, there is a dog. Okay, so grandmother looks towards the cat as a pet animal, or as a animal which is the enemy, and doctor looking towards the cat as a patient. So cat is only one item, only one entity in the world which is being treated by. So student, this, so you have a concept called as abstraction. Abstraction means what? Hiding of a data and showing only the relevant data to the interacting class. So here interacting class is grandmother, interacting class is doctor, interacting class is dog. So cat is dealing with all three, but with different data. This is nothing but the data abstraction. Now what is class? In this examiner, you will come to know that the class is the unique entity in this world. So when we program it, students, we can say it is the logical grouping of data and functions, and it gives us the freedom to create a data structure that contains arbitrary content, and hence it is easily accessible. Means what in other word, what I will tell you, you will make a capsule. In the capsule you will insert some variable, you will insert some functions, and together that capsule you will say it as a class. So the another concept come as data encapsulation. So students, when you are making a class, you will find out what are the related uh, what are the related variables, what are the related methods. Methods are nothing but the function in C, students. Okay, so that becomes a class. Am I audible? Is it okay, students? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So that is the class. Now, one class, one class can have n number of students. Now, grandmother is a class, so there can be n number of ladies who are grandmother. So all the ladies are nothing but the object of a grandmother. So one class can have n number of objects. Okay. Class with the help of dot operator that we will see in the programming part. I just want to explain you the theory part first. So the class is one complete module. Any item, if you want to invoke from a class, then you have to go to some other module and main module, or directly anywhere or directly outside the class you can call the function. So we will see that. Let me start my presentation sharing part. So classes and objects is there. In C programming, we only make a function, and this every function is having their data, which is taking a different separate memory location. So there are lots of memory devices. It is also called as a structure-oriented programming, whereas here, object-oriented, you have only one class, uh, and every class is having its own data and method, which is having uh, take the data which is required from the class, and the object can interact with each other also, and these are totally user defined. So students, here while naming the class, we will follow one convention that always the class name first letter should be capital. Even if you make it small, doesn't matter, but it is the standard way of writing the class. So each object maintain its own states, and it is different from the other. Okay. They can manipulate themselves, other objects, through the methods. Method is the way to communicate between the two objects. So today I'm going to explain this concept with the help of complex number. The complex number are made up of real and imaginary part. Complex number can be written as x plus iy, where x is real and y is imaginary. Okay. So the coordinates we can mention like x comma y. If in order to find out the length of length of a complex number, the formula which we have, square root of x square plus y square. So I'm going to use these formulas. So I just want to show you the gist what I'm going to cover. So we have a different way of representing the complex number. So you can see that on x plane real, on y plane it is imaginary. Similarly, we can represent in the polar form as well. So in polar form, r is a length, which is nothing but root of x square plus y square. And it can be written as r into e raised to I alpha in this form. Okay. So let us go back to using our class. So the syntax is class, complex, and then one more point I would like to add over here. Uh, in order to in order to invoke or access the class member, we need object. But there are some method which don't require any object. They will run automatically. Methods are called as the constructor. So here we can write constructor with the function named as dunder. Dunder means double underscore. So students, today I would like to explain all the dunder functions involved in the Python program. Okay. So in order to call instead, we have dunder function, double underscore, every element, every method should have self variable in it. Okay. Self variable will give us facility to call the method automatically. Therefore, all the function must have self in it. Okay. Then we'll take real and imaginary. Am I audible? Okay. Okay, Ashwini, thank you. So since I'm sitting at my window place, so it is for me to type. I have already done this program. So I just copy and paste and then I will explain. Okay, students. So taking the self, real and imaginary part, you can see here. So self will automatically take data of constructor. So right now I'm writing constructor function. This is called constructor, students, and real and imaginary parts over here. So I'm taking self.re as a variable here, taking real part, and self.im as imaginary part for storing. So now self.re and self.im, this will be the variable of the class, which is known to all the method if you pass self in the definition. Done. So this is a constructor function written which will run automatically when you create the object. And the second method, second dunder function is called str. Dunder means double underscore before and after writing the name of the function. Okay. Self.re means real. Second value is self.im, that means imaginary, which is being returned over here. Now students, if you are using a dunder function, and now this up to line number 7, students, I have done with my class. So this class is having only 2 methods uh, init and str, and the 2 variables which are directly passed to the constructor with the name as self.re and im. Okay. So the another way which you will learn today is how to call the class members with the help of main module. So you can use this syntax over here. if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equal to, in double quote, underscore underscore main module underscore underscore, then double close and then colon. Okay, you can write this, or if you don't want to write, then you just simply comment it and you can take it back, indent over here. This is also do. So this is one of the provision made in the Python. With the help of main module also you can call the function, or if you don't want to use, then simply ignore this part and simply call the methods of the class. Now, since I'm teaching you the new part, therefore I'm using this one. So here, after going inside, I am creating an object of a class complex. So this is the way to create a complex object. So A equals to complex, and in bracket I'm writing two part. Why I'm writing two things? Because in init function it is having a two parameter input. So by default these two parameters 2 and 3 will directly jump over here and they will call this function. So init function will automatically run when the object is created. So object A is created over here. So it will automatically run the init function and it will assign the values to self.re, self.im. So here 2 and 3 is assigned. Then the second object, now I said one class can have n number of objects. So again, the second object I am creating as B. So complex, and the passing real and imaginary value as -1 and 1. So the second object B is holding the value -1 and 1. So it is done. And then let me print. So how to print this thing? So we can have two different way. Either you can write str of the object name. So str of A, if you write, it will print the A object value in A plus IB format. So which is nothing but 2 plus I3. Which is nothing but 2 plus I3. And if you don't want to use, if you don't know, say str, if you don't want to use it, you can directly call this function with the help of simply print. So this dunder function will give you facility to directly print the object with str. So when you write A plus B, it will directly print the two complex numbers. Is it clear, everyone, till now? So here the new thing which you learn, str, which is nothing but a dunder function, double underscore function. You can invoke it without calling. If you write print and the object, it will automatically run and come. It's okay. Yes, yes. We are overriding the default str. Okay. The 8th line is saying if name, it is just to run a program with the main module. If you don't want to use, you can just comment it and you can run. It will give the same output. So let me show you that also. Generally in one program node, we have n number of class. So all the classes are interacting with each other. So in order to make it run at one point, so we'll make one main module, and from that module we will call all the classes and run. Here we have only one class, so no need to make a module. Directly you can run this. So it will give you the same output. Okay. So this is, again, I'm repeating, this is only made when you have n number of classes and all the classes you want to run from main module as per your application, then only you can go for it. Otherwise, single classes you can write like this. Okay. So let me move with the next part now. Let us try to find out length of a complex number. You know that length is root of x square plus y square. So square, for square root, I will be importing math module. Okay. And then the remaining complex function, you know already, the import math, and simply making a constructor with init dunder function. And in order to print the object, I'm using str, which is overloaded over here. Okay. So without writing the method name, I can run. If I write print a, say a is object, print a, it will print directly a ka data. So here I just want to add one more method, wrapper method. Wrapper method goes beyond the str method. Wrapper method is generally used for the debugging part. Uh, Other than the printing, uh, it will it will run the required task. Okay, so here in wrapper method, I'm finding the uh, length of a complex number. So again, I'm repeating the same code over here. Real is stored in self.re, imaginary is stored in self.im, and str is simply running, printing the a plus ib format. And wrapper function is saying a plus ib length is equal to so and so. So dot format, self.re, self.im, and self.norm. Now, what is self.norm? That we have to see. So norm is a function which is called over here with the self uh, self keyword. So norm is a function. So therefore, since you are calling it with the help of self, so norm has to be the member of a class. This is the important point. If you're calling with the help of self, then norm has to be the member of a class. So let us go and check. Yes, define norm, and norm is in the complex. So therefore it will run. So how to find out? So sqrt function, and then real square plus imaginary square, it will return the value. That's clear. And then same thing. Here all by program I have written main model running. So you can change it if you want. Again, taking the same example, 2 and 3 is taken and it is given to A, minus 1 and 1 is taken, given to B. Now I just want to tell you what is the difference between this thing, wrapper and str class over here, str method over here. The str method, if you write, it will give you the, just a minute. Okay, so STRA is printing a complex number 2 plus I3. Let me run this, then it will come to know. Something index error. Indentation is proper. Here I have made one mistake. Okay. So this is str. If you write print a, it will give you output 2 plus I3. If you write print str of a, that means you're calling str function, it will give you the same output. But the wrapper, no, if you write print a, it will not give you wrapper. In order to call wrapper function, you have to explicitly pass the method. And again, since it is a dunder function, dunder method, it don't require object dot method name. Directly you can write the method over here, and which object you want to print value, pass that object, and it will give you the details. So the second line is going to give you the same details. So here a plus ib length equals to so and so is printed. Okay. So wrapper method goes one step ahead of the str method. Both are the method overloading only. Okay. Should I go to next part now? Is it okay, students? Okay. Now, since we are dealing with the real complex number, if I change this value over here, if I say this is 2 minus 3, logically this thing should come as 2 plus 2 minus I into 3, something like that. So let me check what is the output I'm going to get over here now. This is something add, no, 2 plus I minus 3. So that means this str method I have directly written as a plus ib. I have not checked the real and imaginary part. So I have to, students, I have to check whether real and imaginary are 0, whether real and imaginary are less than 0, whether real and imaginary are more than 0. So I have to use all the if else thing over here in order to get the uh, correct display of complex number. So the next part I would like to tell you that only. So here it is. You can see after writing the constructor, I am writing the str method. And in this str method, I am doing all the comparison, all the possibilities, checking whether the real part is 0, imaginary part is 0. If it is 0, then return 0. Otherwise, checking real is 0, imaginary is non-zero, that too positive, then this is the way to display. If real is 0, imaginary is negative, then this is the way to display. Is that clear? And remember, when you are displaying the negative number, you are writing minus something over here. Then here you just please write minus self.im, because the real imaginary number is minus. Similarly, for the next case, if only real imaginary is negative, so this is the way. So here 0, negative, positive, 3 case, and the 2 items. So 3C 2 way, that means 6 different ways there will be there to write the if. So simple uh, combinations you will apply, and you will write all the if else statement. I'm not going to explain because this is very simple and basic. You have done already how to write if statements. Okay. So str method, now this str method will take care of the printing part of complex number. And in the previous examples, students, I have covered wrapper method. Wrapper method doesn't require object to call it. Means object dot method you're not writing. You're writing only method, and in the method you are writing object name, then it will running. Here, if you don't want to make a dunder function, dunder method, So simply writing the length, and since it is the part of a function class, therefore you will write self as one variable, and then simply return that math.sqrt self real square plus imaginary square. So this is done. And in order to call the length, this is not the dunder method. So this can be called with the traditional way of calling the method. What is the traditional way? Object dot method name. Understood? Object dot method name if it is not a dunder function. Okay, this is a traditional way to call the method. And here we are not calling the method init, because init is dunder and it is a constructor. So when you pass the value directly, it will run. Okay, so let us take this example, run it. So giving the same value, say I have -1 over here, then so it is giving you minus I1. Changing this value, another. So this if else is taking care of the uh, complex printing part, which was not there before. Which was not there before. Is that clear, everyone? So the importance of dunder function, you will. Okay, so I'm copying the code over here. Is there any doubt in this? Yes, yes. In Python, there is no rule like constructor name should be similar to class name. Very good question. I forgot to mention this point. Students, when you learn Java, no, or C++, so there is a rules or restriction. If you want to make a constructor, the constructor name should be similar to class name. So here in Python, since we have dunder function, what it says, dunder function, if you make init, init, then it automatically becomes a constructor. So no restriction. Very good question. Thanks, Subham. Any further questions? Okay. So let us solve one more example based on this. Based on this. I'm in class. Based on this complex number. So let me come back to my presentation part. And simultaneously, students, if you have a PC, you may start the coding for this one as well. It's very easy. The sample code I have pasted on the WhatsApp group, and you may go ahead with that. So let us solve this question. This we have done already. What is this? Yeah, this is the question displayed on the screen. Okay, I have already pasted my codes. So that is that you can take it for your programming part, and try to find out phase of a complex number. This is the mathematical formula given by, okay, and it should raise an value error in the last case when x is 0 and not x, you can say a is 0. Here is some silly mistake of typing. A is 0 and b is 0. It should give you a value error. So with that code, I'm giving you some time, say 5 minutes time. You can work. You may write on with your, if you don't have a laptop or some other device, you may write in your notebook as well. The code is already shared on your WhatsApp group. Please do it. Okay, Shantanu. Yes, Shantanu, you can write on WhatsApp group. I have checking that group. I'm on that group. Sir, what is the scope of Dunder function? Okay. Uh, See, Dunder function, it can access the, I mean, it can help the object to access the information of the class without explicitly calling the Dunder function with the help of object name. That means a dot str something you don't write. Str is there, that means it is overloaded directly. You write print a, it will print all this. So it is just only for printing. But the other wrapper, so in wrapper, you will write wrapper and bracket the object name, then it will access. So the traditional way, like object dot method name, is given an extra edge over here. You can directly write the method name and it will run the program. Method name for what object you write in the bracket part. And its scope is throughout the class. So for finding arctan, I just want to arctan, ARC10 students, you will use math module, import math dot A10. Okay. How will you write that? Math dot A10. So this is something new. So A10 is inbuilt in the math module. So A, small a, TAN. Okay. In bracket, you will write the variable thing. Math.py. Pi value, no students. Math.py. math.pi, pi. Anything which is mathematical, the programming don't know, so you have to use math dot and its name pi, pi. Arctangent is ATAN, math dot ATAN. Okay, last one more minute, and then I will show you the program. Okay, so now my sharing my programming screen with you. Okay, please pay attention here now. Since we are going to use ArcTangent, so import math, and then the code which I have given you already on WhatsApp group. So complex class with constructor init. And here I have not used str because I don't want to print man. I just want to find out the arctangent. So I remove that function, that method. I'm simply using the arg for finding argument. And here in if statements, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the statements which are mentioned in that problem statement is written over here. Self.ra is real and self.im is imaginary. If both are 0, then you should raise value error. There is a value error. Okay. If real is greater than 0, then this is the way to find out math.arctan of imaginary upon. See, it is always, see, tan inverse is always y by x, no? So y value and then x value. Similarly, writing all the conditions for pi. See, pi math.pi, and pi plus tan inverse of something was there, so it is written in that way. Okay, then tan inverse minus pi was there, so it is written in this way. So this covers all the condition, and then simply here, since here I have used main model, then I thought I should remove this, so I removed it and simply calling from outside of the class with the object name. So first a complex 1 comma 2, the object is created. As soon as the object created, constructor will run. Constructor will assign self.re as 1 and self.im as 2. And then I have made the another method as arg, which is not the dunder. Dunder function नहीं है. तो फिर क्या करने का? Direct object को उठाने का और call कर लेने का. So object क्या है अपने पास? A. So a dot the method name. So directly it is calling the argument. And running it, it is going to give you 1 point something so and so. So just change the value and try to see what is going to happen now. If it is -2, then what will happen? Comes in minus. If both are 0, then it must give you the value error. Oh, so it is giving you value error. That means there is something mistake with the values which you have thrown the exception over here. So is it clear, everyone? Clear? So I'm copying that code and pasting over here. Okay, that's great. So we'll move ahead now. Students, we in this object-oriented programming, we have ability to do method operator overloading but before operator overloading, I just want to tell you one more example. Complex conjugate. If you have number a plus ib, then its conjugate will be a minus ib, and if it is a minus ib, then conjugate will be a plus ib. That means imaginary part will be negated. Okay, so how to find that? Again, the same code. You will write constructor and then the next method name as conjugate to find out the conjugate of the complex. And here what we are doing actually we are negating the imaginary, therefore negating the imaginary. So minus self dot im. So conjugate means negating the imaginary part, so minus self dot im. Self is used for the class method, class variable. So im is class variable, so self dot im should be negated for finding the conjugate. And then the str method is written for printing it in proper format and then running it. So when you run a equals to complex 2 comma minus 3, that means 2 minus i3 is there. So its complex conjugate will be 2 plus i3. It is there. Okay. Is it clear, students? To find the conjugate directly, you can mention the parameter as minus of imaginary part. You will get the answer directly. Okay. So this also I'm copying and giving it to you. Am I going very fast? Am I going very fast? See, I thought this conjugate, I mean, it's only one line, minus. Therefore, I have given you this code. Am I audible? Hello. I'm not getting reply. Okay. 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 Thank you. So let me quickly cover this operator overloading part. Okay. Okay. See, if we want to add two items of an object, we will simply write method name add, and then we will pass the object and we will do addition part. But rather than writing a double d add, we can use plus, the mathematical operator. Object name a, object name b, a plus b, give me the answer. So the next question is to find out sum of two complex number with the help of operator overloading. So we will go by basic only. We will first write the constructor. Okay. Once constructor is written, then we'll write what we have to do. We have to just add the two numbers. Yes. So add function here, when you are writing operator overloading, it has to be a dunder function. Point number one, operator overloading, that operator should be written with a dunder function. Dunder means double underscore. What? Add. Okay. So self means what? Object ka data. And other means what? Other object ka data. Okay. Self, see, by default all the methods should have self. So self contains objects data, and you are adding what? You are adding other object data, therefore you're making other. So this is for my for simplicity I have written other. Okay, you can write anything. So other. Now this add will give you what? It is going to give you the another complex number addition of the two. What addition? Self dot re मतलब खुद का object का data plus other dot re मतलब दूसरे के object का data. Okay, self dot re plus other dot re, तो real हो गया यहाँ पे, and then imaginary self dot im plus other dot im, ये हो गया. सो रियल और इमेजिनरी दोनों यहाँ पे ऐड होके कॉम्प्लेक्स को मिल रहा है. नाउ सी हियर what you are returning complex in bracket the value. So what is this? This is a class with value. So students, what I taught you, class with value is nothing but the constructor will give you automatically data. No, if you write 2 3, if you call complex 2 3, so constructor will give you what? 2 plus I3. Similarly over here, complex something will come, say 5 and 3. So 5 plus I3 will come. So directly returning the value to the class variable over here. Okay, and then str will take care of printing part of the complex number, which is explained before. Any doubt, anyone? Just tell me. So yeah, so what is the new you are learning over here? When you are making a method over operator overloading, you are simply returning the operator's result in the class itself. The way you are making the object. So here plus is defined. That add means plus. So till now let us run this program, then you will see this. See here, I have written a equal to complex 2 3. That means 2 plus I3 is done. Okay, then b equals to 3 minus 5. That means 3 minus I5 is done. And then I'm writing a plus ib. So as soon as it sees the plus, so a and b are the class object. Now what is plus? So it will go for the dunder function definition. So dunder function is here add. In its definition part, what is written over here? Plus. Okay, so it will understand that it has to add. So this is the way to do the operator overloading. Let's run this. It's done. Self is not predefined. Self, see, when you write any method in the class, no, that method must have self. Self, though you are passing it as a parameter, you are containing it as a parameter, but student, remember, it is always hidden. So if you say init is having how many parameter, if I see and explicitly I can say, okay, 1 2 3 parameters, but it is wrong. It is not 3, it is only 2. Self is always hidden from outside. See, बाहर से अगर कोई भी देखेगा ना तो उसको सेल्फ दिखाई नहीं देगा, उसको बाहर से खाली दो ही ऑब्जेक्ट दिखेगा, दो ही वेरिएबल दिखेगा. इसके लिए जब हम लोग कॉल करेंगे ना, you can see here we are calling, we are not considering self because self is not visible to us. Self is visible to only the class members and variables. तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, हर मेथड में सेल्फ को रखेंगे ताकि वो क्या करेगा, वो मेथड वो क्लास के वेरिएबल को देख सके. Okay, is it okay? Yes, we can create a dunder function of our own choice. So मैंने क्या किया, अभी दो कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर को ऐड किया. अब तुम लोग जरा सब्ट्रैक्ट करके ले लो. सेम यही कोड रहेगा. You can do it later. So I'm just copying it and giving it to you. Okay. So subtraction similarly you can make like this. So the question which you asked, dunder function can be of our user defined. Yes, you can make it. Okay. and here in the definition you will write minus, you will get the result. Okay, so that's all from my side now. Is there any doubt? Can we have multiple dunder function? Yes, we have. We can have. तो ऐड सब्ट्रैक्ट सब कॉल करो एक ही प्रोग्राम के अंदर ना, पाइथन का आई मीन कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर का एडिशन करो, सब्ट्रैक्शन करो, डंडर फंक्शन का इस्तेमाल करो ना. इनिट भी डंडर है, एसटीआर डंडर है, ऐड सब्ट्रैक्ट व्हाटएवर यू कैन यूज. इन ऐड फंक्शन इवन द अदर इज हिडन. स्टूडेंट्स ऐड में हम लोग जब लिखते हैं ना a प्लस बी लिखा ना, तो जो प्लस के राइट साइड वाला है ना वो अदर में चला जाएगा और लेफ्ट वाला सेल्फ में चला जाता है. ओके, when you write print a plus b for method operator overloading, so when compiler when the interpreter see plus, it understand that now okay there should be some method overloading function, it will go to that part, and the left side a is given to self and right side b is given to other, so it will add the result and give you the answer. Line number 21 of the code. In line number 21, no, this is str method, no, just for printing the complex variable in the proper format. Student, if all this condition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not true, then it will return this. Okay. Here see real 0, real 0, real 0. Okay. And then imaginary less than 0, then this will happen. Imaginary greater than 0, then this will happen. Otherwise, this will happen. If you are confused with this, item can be negative. Number 2, both item can be positive. Number 3, both item can be 0. So 3 different possibility and 2 items. So 3C2, that means 6. So 6 combination you will write and you will get the answer. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now I will request Vijay sir. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now you have seen various examples in which we have used the concept of class, objects, and various methods we have been using. So now let's say what would have happened if we are not using the concept of class. So let's say I have I'm just creating a class over here with the name employee, okay? And then I don't know what I'm going to include in this class employee right now for the time being. Then if you don't know that what you're going to include here at the present moment, so I can simply say pass. Okay, so what the pass is going to do is as soon as the execution starts from as a this thing for the employee, and as soon as it encounters the pass, so it is going to uh, ignore this. So as if there is nothing defined for this class employee. Okay, so after this, okay, now when you execute this, nothing has happened. Now we'll be creating an object of this class employee. So let's say the object is employee1 is equals to employee. Okay, and I'm going to create second object as well. Employee2 is equals to employee. Now let's say there are two employees presently, and the only fields available with me are the first name and the last name of those employees. So how I'm going to set those first name and the last name of both the employees is I'll be saying emp1, which is nothing but the object name for the first employee. It is emp1 dot, I'll say fn, which is for the first name. Let's say here Tom. Okay, and then I'll be assigning the last name as well. So I'll say emp1 dot ln. Ln stands for the last name here, and I'll say Cruz. Okay, and then after this, I'm going to print the details of this first employee. So I'll be using the print method, and I'll say emp1 dot fn, comma emp2, emp1 dot ln. Okay, let's execute this. So you're getting the output as Tom Cruise. Now let's say there is another employee and you want to enter the details of the second employee as well. So what you will be doing is manually you have to execute this. So I'll just copy, paste over here, change this 1 to 2, and let's say I'll say Grania Fernandez. Okay. Now I have to print the details of the second employee as well. So this is what you're getting the output for the two employees for which you have only the first name and the last name. Okay, but that would not be the case in the real world. There would be many more attributes for any class. Okay, and there will be various methods that will be operating with these attributes. So if there is any way, we'll see if there is any way to combine all of them together instead of writing this manually. So you can do this with the help of the init method, which is the constructor. So the same thing we'll say here, class employee, okay, and then we are going to define the constructor over here. So define underscore underscore, and it is for initialization, okay, which is nothing but the constructor. Is the screen visible now? Sorry guys. Okay, so should I take you just have a look at this? So what I have is I have created a class employee and I don't know what I'm going to include. So I'm simply writing pass over here. And after that, I have created two objects of this class employee. So I'm saying emp1 is equals to employee, which is nothing but the name of the class, and then emp2 is employee. Okay, and then I just have the first name and the last name of both the employees. So those values I'm initializing over here and then printing the same thing. So the same thing is done for the second employee as well, just by changing emp1 as emp2, which is nothing but the object which I've created for this employee class. Now we'll see how we can reduce this code over here. So we'll be creating the constructor. Okay, so we'll be creating a constructor. So we'll say define underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and then I'll say self comma fname, or if you want you can say only fn. After that I'll say ln, which is for the last name. Okay, and then I'll be using self dot fname is equals to fn, and I'll say self dot lname is equals to ln. And after that I'll be creating the objects of the class employee. So with the help of this object emp1 is equals to the name of the class, which is employee, and I'll be passing the first name and the last name over here. So I'll say the first one is Tom, and then the second one is Cruiser. Okay, so I am passing the two parameters for this first object. Okay, emp1 is equals to employee Tom Cruise. So as soon as the object of this class is being created, so it is going to execute the constructor of the same class, in which Tom would be assigned in fn variable and Cruise will be assigned in the ln variable. And the same thing we are storing it over here, fn, fname and lname. Though you could have kept the same fn and ln over here, but it's up to you as you want. Same way, I'm going to create the object for the second employee. emp2 is equals to employee. I'll say Rania, okay, and then I'll say here Fernandez. So once the objects are being created, now what you want is you want to print them. Okay, so how you will be printing is, so I'll be using the print method. For the print method, I'm simply going to use the placeholders. I'll put the space character here, and I'll say dot format. Now what the format is, emp1 dot fname, and then comma emp1 dot lname. I'll print the same thing for the second employee as well, and just print this, execute this. Okay, I'll have to change it to so you can see that you are getting the same output as that of the previous one. In the previous, if you would have observed, initially what you're doing is you are creating the object of the class for as many objects as you want. So we have created two objects, emp1 employee, emp2 is equals to employee, and then we are setting the values for the first name and last name manually, and then we are printing. So here the same thing is done. If you are having, let's say, 1,000 employees, if you'll be using the first one, then the work would be increased, and if you're using the second one, then you're basically reusing the code. And we are just printing this with the help of placeholder. This is the space that I'm keeping after displaying the first name and the second name over here. And the format, it is taking two parameters for emp1 dot first name. So that will be assigned for the first placeholder, and the second parameter would be assigned for the second placeholder. Now, instead of printing this over here, I'll see if there is any other way to reduce this much work as well. So yes, there is some possibility to reduce this. I'm just copy and pasting this part here. And then I'm going to define another function in the same class with the name full name. Okay, I'm going to define another class with the name of the method as full name, and I'll be passing the self parameter to this. I'm going to pass the self parameter to this. And what I want to do over here is I'll be returning I'll copy paste this part from here. But over here, I can't say it as a emp1.fname or emp1.lname. I have to make it as a self. That means the object which is calling this method. And then I'll be simply printing emp1 dot full name. Same way, I'm going to print emp2 dot full name. So let's execute this. So you're getting still the same output. So in the first case, first example, what we have seen is we haven't used the concept of classes and objects. Manually, we were setting all the values for as many employees you will be having. Then in the second case, just storing the values, how we can do it with the help of the constructor or the method over here. So that we have seen in this case. And in the third case, we have seen that we can display this also with the help of some method that we have defined over here, which is called as a full name. So in case if you'll be having huge number of objects, and for every object you cannot call this for every object you cannot do this manually. So hence you are basically using the concept of classes, which consist of attributes and the methods. So we'll be calling the methods for all the objects that you will be creating. So with this your work gets reduced. Is this part clear to everyone? Am I audible? Okay, thank you, Tejas. So have you all understood this part? Once this you have understood, then we can move ahead. Next, we'll see the types of the variables. The types of the variables in Python. So basically, there are two types of variables. One of them is called as an instance variable. Other one is called as a class variable. Now, if you can see here in this last code snippet, we have self.fname. So the self.fname and self.lname, these are called as instance variable because these variables are associated with the instance. We'll see the concept of class name as well. We'll see in which case which variables should be assigned as a class variables and which variables should be used as an instance variable. Just a minute. Okay, now if you see this code snippet here, I have created a class EMP, which is for the employee. And this variable over here, INCR is equals to 1.05. I have created some variable. This variable is called as a class variable. It doesn't belong to any individual object. It belongs to all. Okay, it doesn't belong to any specific object. It belongs to all the objects. So let's say what example you can have is in case of employee. See, employee will have different employee ID. They will have different names and so on. But let's say the company is planning to give some fixed percentage of rise every year. So the company has decided to give 5% of the raise in whatever salary the employee is having currently. So as that percent of the amount is fixed for all the employees, so that variable can be made as a class variable instead of having it as a instance variable. Whatever is the copy of the class variable, it would be same for all the objects. Okay, whereas whatever are the instance variables, those instance variables would be different for each object. So in this, what I'm doing is I have created a class variable incr, which is for the increment in some 5%. So I've written 1.05 of their existing salary. And some constructor is being defined over here, which is taking two parameters, name and the department. So, and then after that, the object of this class employee is being created and the two parameters ABC and CSC are being passed to this. ABC would be assigned in the name and CSC would be assigned in the department variable over here. And that is being stored in the self.name and the self.department. Now, if I want to see its increment, so I'll say employee dot incr. I'll just print this. So you can see that the increment variable, okay, it is not associated with any specific object. It is associated with all the objects of the class EMP. So hence you can make use of this EMP, which is nothing but the name of the class dot the class variable. Now let's see what's going to happen if you will call this for any specific object. The object that we have created of class EMP is E. So I'll say E dot incr. So for that also you are getting the same. Okay, because whatever is this copy increment 1.05, it belongs to all the objects of the class employee. Let's say if I'll create another object after this, E1 is equals to EMP, let's say PQR, EXTC, okay. Okay. Now, what if I want to modify? I want to modify the increment value for some specific object, not for all. Okay. So how I'll do it? I'll modify this for only the object E. So I'll say E dot incr is equals to 1.07. Okay. I'm changing the increment for some specific employee. Okay, which is with the object E. And then after that, if you'll try to see. Is my screen visible there? Is the screen visible? Okay, thank you. So what I've done is, before changing the increment for some specific object or some specific employee, I'm printing that increment value, the value of that increment variable for the class variable as well as all the individual E and E1. And then after that, I'm changing the increment for some specific object and making it as 1.07. And after that, again, I'm printing the value of the increment variable for all the different objects as well as a class variable. So the first three would be definitely 1.04 because we didn't change them. Okay, it was before changing. And as soon as I'm changing E dot INCR is equals to 1.07, so this would be reflected only for the object E. It is not reflected for the class variable, and it is not reflected for any other instances. It is reflected only for itself. You can see here this 1.05 is corresponding to the class variable INCR. And this last 1.05 is corresponding to the object E1. This 1.07 is corresponding for the object E, for which we have modified the increment as 1.07. Have you understood this? The class variable should be used if you want some value of the variables to be same for all the different objects. Okay, and the instance variables are the ones for which the values are not same. They will have different values for each and every individual objects. And if you want to access or if you want to change for some specific objects, still you can do it with the help of this E dot, the object name dot, whatever is the class variable, and assign some new value to it. Now let's see actually the definition, the dictionary in the form of dictionary, whether this increment is associated with the different objects or not. So I'm gonna just print here. The first object is E. Let's print this first here. Okay, so if you can see here, this EMP is nothing but the name of the class. Okay, so what it is having is, it is having this INCR. Okay, it is having this class variable with a value of 1.05. Let's do it for the remaining objects that we have created. So I'll say E dot underscore underscore Now for this object E also, you can see here it is having the variable increment with a value of 1.07. Why you can see this here? Because we have set some value 1.07 for this increment variable associated with the object E. But what if you want to verify the same thing for the object E1? For the object E1, if you see, it is having only the two attributes. It is having the name and the department as the attributes. It is not having increment attribute with it, because that increment attribute is not the instance variable. It is for the class variable, because we changed the value of this increment variable over here associated with the object E only. So hence it is showing only for the object E. Is this part clear? The use of this class variable and the instance variable. Okay, thank you, Ashwini. Then we'll be starting with the concept of inheritance. So what is this? Inheritance is basically, inheritance is the concept by which you can make use of the features which are available with the one class in some another class. Inheritance is nothing but the use of the features which are already available with one class. You can make use of already existing ones instead of redefining them again. Okay, so that is, we are reusing the features. It provides a concept of code reusability. Inheritance is associated with the code reusability. So it's like if you have some part, some method is defined to you. If you want to use that method for some another class, you need not write that class again. You did not write that method again, but you can make use of the method which is already written for some previous method. That will see how it can be done. There are various types of inheritance. You have single inheritance, then you have multi-level inheritance, then you have a multiple inheritance, hybrid, and so on. So we'll see the example of single inheritance first. So let's say I have a class called as a base, and in this, I'm having a constructor init underscore self comma, let's say name, and then I'm simply displaying this. Before displaying, I have to set the value. And then I'm going to print this. This is base class. Then I have another class called as derived. So what I want in this case is, you have a class base, okay? It is a base class. This is one of the class. You want to make use of some features of this base class which is already defined. You don't want to write them again. So if you want to use the features of this base class, what you have to do is you have to pass the name of the class over here which you want to use. Okay, so we can say that this derived class is inherited from the base class. This new class derived is inherited from the base class. And I'm having a constructor of this own class, so the derived as well. Self.name. Okay, now if you see in this code, we are having two classes. One is the base class, other one is the derived class. The meaning of this part over here. So whatever name of the class you will be writing here, that means we are going to derive the features. This derived class is inherited from the base class. That means whatever are the features of this base class can be used in the derived class. So for the base class, I have a constructor with only single parameter, which is the name. I'm storing it over here. Self.name is equals to name, though I'm not using it. Okay. Then there is one print statement. This is a base class. Then in the derived class, we have defined again the constructor for this derived class. And then from this derived class, as we have already set the name in the base class, we don't want to write it over here. So instead of that, I'm going to reuse that. How I'm going to reuse this? By making use of the name of the parent class. This base is nothing but the name of the parent class, and I'm calling the constructor of this base class, and I'm passing whatever are the values over here, parameters. And after that, just this age also I have to display, assign over here. And then I'll say print, this is the derived class. So once this is done, so when an object of this derived class is being created, we are passing two parameters, Sam and 15. Okay, so when object is being created, it is going to execute this constructor. It will execute this constructor when the object of this class is created. But if you'll see within this constructor, the first statement is what? Base dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore self comma name. Okay, that means we are calling the constructor of the base class. We are calling the constructor of the base class to reuse the features, whatever we have defined over there. So when this statement will get executed, base dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore self comma name, it will execute the constructor of the base class, in which whatever name we are passing over here, which is Sam, so that will be assigned in the self dot name, and then it will simply print this is a base class. So this would be the first print statement. After that, the age that we have passed while creating the object is 15, so that would be assigned in the age over here, and then it will print this is a derived class. So after printing this second statement, then we are giving a function call to this method, which is called as a print str. Okay, print str, and the name of the object that we have created is ob. So you can see here it has printed this is a base class. When an object of the class is being created, it will execute the constructor of that class. Okay, so this constructor will get executed. We have passed Sam and 15, two parameters over here. Those values will be assigned in the name and the age variable. But within this, what we are doing is, instead of again writing the statement self.name is equals to name, we are calling the constructor of its parent class. We are calling the constructor of the parent class by using base, which is nothing but the name of its parent class, dot the constructor, the same way you are doing it. And after this, you are assigning the value of the age, which is 15 for this object. Okay, self dot age, and you are printing this. This is a derived class. So by this, it will be printing. This is the base class. This is derived class, and the value of the name would be Sam, and the value of age would be 15 after this statement. And then when you'll be calling this print str method for the object ob, it will execute this method, and it will simply display this whatever are the values associated with the name and the age variable for that object ob. So that's what it is displaying here, Sam and 15. So instead of writing this self.name is equals to name, again in this method, we are reusing it from its parent class. This is simply one feature that I'm explaining over here. There would be more and more features which are available in the base class and that you want to reuse them again. So that can be done with the help of this inheritance. In case of single level inheritance, there would be exactly single parent class. Again, it can have more than one child class, but right now in this case, it is having only single child class. This base is a parent class, derived is a child class. This derived is having all the features of it can inherit, it is inherited from the base class. The Vikas is asking, is it necessary to define init function in derived class also? See, when you are creating the object, see, if you see here, we haven't created the object of the base class. We have created the object of the derived class. Okay, so when you are creating the object of this derived class, so how you are going to initialize the values? So to initialize the value, you will be making use of this init. But if child class is not having the inherit, so it's going to take it from its parent class. If the subclass is not having the init method or the init constructor, whatever is available with the parent class, the same thing would be used in the child class as well. Is it clear? Have you understood this? Single inheritance and how we can reuse the existing features which are already available with some class. Okay, thank you everyone. Then after this, the second type of inheritance is multi-level that we'll see. Multi-level is like, let's say you have a grandfather, you have a father, and then you, okay? So whatever are the features of your grandfather, the features are available, okay? Some of the features of your grandfather are available in your father. And whatever are the features available in your father, those features are available with you. Okay, so it's like multi-level. You're having more than one levels. So I'm going to create a class here. This is the example for the multi-level class base. I'm going to define the constructor for this with self comma name, only single parameter we are passing here, and storing the value. And there is another method that is name, passing again the self and to return over here self dot name. So you can see here, this is one base class that we have defined over here, which consists of two methods. One of them is a constructor. Other one is a method that we have defined, get name. Okay. This constructor is taking name attribute, attribute over here. So whatever is this name value that we are storing for that object, self dot name. And this get name would simply return whatever is the value of that name variable. After this, I'm having another class, let's say child. This child is derived from the base class. This child class is derived from the base class. Again, I'm having the constructor of its own init underscore underscore. Okay, I'll say self comma name comma age, and then within this, I'm calling the constructor of its parent class, whose name is base here. Self comma name. So we'll be utilizing this statement self dot name from its parent class, but age is not available in that base class. So we have to define it over here. We have to set it over here. So self dot age is equals to age. Now we'll be defining another method within this class. We'll say define get age. and it is simply going to return the age for whichever object it would be called. I would say self dot age. So you can see here, till now it is your single level inheritance because you have single parent class, single child class. But in this example, we are going to demonstrate multi-level. So I'm going to define one more class, class grandchild. This grandchild class is derived not from the base class, it is derived from the child class. So you have to mention this, the name of the class from which it is derived. And within this, again, we'll be having the constructor with some additional features over here. Let's say address. Okay, we'll not be calling the constructor of the base class, rather we'll call the constructor of its own parent. So we'll say child here, and it is taking one more parameter here, which is age, and then we'll set the address over here. And one more method simply for returning the result. I'm going to define get address with the self. It will return self dot address. So you can see in this case, we are having three classes, base class, child class, and the grandchild class. This child class is derived from the base class. Child class is derived from the base class. And after that, you have one more class, which is grandchild class. This grandchild class is derived from the child class. Grandchild class is derived from the child class. So this child class is the child for this base class, whereas this child is parent for the grandchild. This child is nothing but the child of the base class, but this child over here is nothing but the parent of this grandchild class. So I'll be creating the object of this grandchild. Okay, I'll be creating the object of this grandchild. So whatever are the features of this base class will be available in the child class. Whatever are the features of this child class will be available in the grandchild class. So directly we are going to create the object of this grandchild with the help of some object name. G is equal to the name of the class. It's grandchild. Let's say you're passing the parameters as Sam, which would correspond to the name, the age 15, and the address will say Mumbai. And after this, I'm printing all the features of this grandchild. G dot get name, G dot get age, G dot get address. So if you'll observe in this code, we are creating the object of this third class, which is a grandchild class. So as soon as the object of this grandchild class would be created, its respective constructor would be called, it would get executed. So the value of Sam would be assigned in the name, 15 would be assigned in the age, Mumbai would be assigned in this address. And then after this, as we are having the name and age already defined in its previous classes base as well as child, so I'm giving a call to its parent class, which is child. Okay, I'm calling the constructor of its parent class. The name of this parent class is the child over here. So I'm invoking the constructor of its parent class. So I'm writing the name of its parent class, and the same way you're calling the constructor because it is having name and age. So you're passing over here, and address you are defining over here. You are setting this address attribute here because it's not available with the previous parents with the, in any of the constructors of the previous classes. So when it will execute this statement, child dot init, so it is calling the constructor of its parent class, which is child. So for this, this definition will get executed. Okay, this definition will get executed in which the first statement is, it is again invoking the parent class, the constructor of its parent class, which is nothing but the base. So for this, this statement will get executed in which whatever name we have passed Sam, that would be assigned for this object J. Age would be set over here 15, and the address Mumbai would be set over here in this third class. So we are not using the name and the age in explicitly for this grandchild class over here, but we are reusing it from the its parent classes. And in the print statement, simply you are giving a call to the methods. So it is displaying Sam 15 and Mumbai. Yes, you can make use of super keyword as well. See, super what will do, instead of writing this base over here, you can write the super as well. Super corresponds to the, when you want to invoke the constructor or the method or some variable of your parent class, then you can make use of super instead of mentioning the name of the class. Prathamesh, sir, can we return the value in the init method? See, this init method is basically used for initialization. It is not used for returning. It's basically for initialization of the variables or the attributes of the different objects. So it is not used for returning anything. Generally, it is used for initializing, as the name suggests, init. Init is for initialization. It does not return anything. Is this clear to everyone? Is this multi-level inheritance clear to everyone? In case of multi-level, you will be having more than one levels. Okay, so you are having 3 levels. You have a base, you have a child, you have a grandchild. Okay, this child is derived from the base class. Grandchild is derived from the child class. And whatever features are available in the base class, if you want to reuse them, you can make use of the name of the class, or even you can make use of the super keyword as well and call the constructor of its parent class. So basically inheritance is used for code reusability. So whatever code is available, you should see to that it should be reused instead of writing them, instead of writing it separately, individually for different classes. And is the concept of class variable and the instance variable clear? Instance variable you will be using when you want to have different value for all the objects. Class variable is being used when you want to have the same value for all the objects. And in this example, we have seen that how hectic it is going to be if you're not using the concept of classes and the methods. So basically, class is nothing but a template or the blueprint, which is going to tell you that what are the data members and the member functions within the class. Okay, so after that, there is multiple inheritance, and there is some problem with the multiple, not the problem as in the concept of MRO. So that we'll see in the next class. I hope this part is clear to everyone. Okay, if you have any doubt, then post in the group. Otherwise, we'll meet again day after tomorrow. Any doubt? Okay, no response means no doubt. I don't know. Okay, thank you. So we'll sign off for the day. Thank you, everyone.